Welcome back. UpBeat NYC not only provides high quality, accessible music instruction, but does so in a way that challenges the norms of competitive music education. They believe that all children are innately musical and have a right to high quality, long term music education. Here to tell us more about the programs they offer are the two co executive directors, Liza Austria and Richard Miller. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Now, what inspired the creation of UpBeat NYC?
It really was born out of a lot of conversations around my family's dinner table. My parents are both musicians, so I was lucky enough to be raised with, surrounded by music. I grew up playing the piano, singing, dancing, and as a young adult, was able to perform in New York City. So sitting at the table as a young adult, a lot of the conversations would focus around music. And my mother at the time was a public school and elementary school teacher, and was really frustrated and saddened by how much the arts was always being cut from the schools. My father was a professional bass player, and in the last few years of his life became a fierce advocate for free music education, largely inspired by a music program in Venezuela from in the 70s, that started in the 70s, known as El Sistema, that gave free music instruction to hundreds of thousands of kids, still exists today in youth orchestras and choirs. So he had also come from the Philippines on a bass scholarship after receiving free bass lessons there. And so it meant a lot to him personally that music be something that was accessible to everybody and opened the doors, created opportunities for all kids.
Now, I understand that the organization started back in 2009. How does it feel to see how far you've come since then?
We are so proud of everything that UpBeat's done, and especially the community, the families, and their trust in the organization to, to bring their kids to us every day. And it's a long-term program, so you can stay as long as you want. Kids are there from ages 5 up through college. And right now we have 185 students. We have paid internship programs as well. And their luthier, which is instrument repair, and teaching, assistant teachers who get experience teaching. So even though we started very small, with just us as volunteers, like you said, 15 years ago, really just family members and friends. But we're really proud that we still have that family feel, even though we now have 15 teachers and are operating 6 days a week. And just so proud, most importantly, of course, of the kids. The way they engage with each other, take care of each other, and really commit themselves to long-term learning.
Now, how do you measure the impact of your programs on the communities you serve?
So the most important thing, I think, is like I just said, is like keeping that culture of joy and an inspiring way of teaching. If our kids are joyful and learning, we know that the impact is happening. We definitely, teachers keep close eye and staff on every student, on their progress. We have private lessons for almost all students, and the proof is also in their performances and their attendance, which is very high, and the high level of music that they're making is really beautiful and inspiring to the whole community.
Now, how does your organization collaborate with other organizations or community leaders to enhance its program?
So we know that we really feel that music is essential. And one of my father's favorite quotes was that arts isn't the baking soda, but it is the baking soda and not the frosting of the cake, right? It's something essential. And at the same time, we also understand that, it doesn't happen in a vacuum, and that there's so many challenges that our families face in our community. And in the South Bronx, there's issues, and we partner with organizations and community leaders around food security, environmental justice, immigrant rights, waterfront access. There's so many things. So we partner with organizations like South Bronx Unite, La Peña, La Morada, an amazing Oaxacan restaurant in our community, family owned, that has given hundreds of meals to our families and helped us provide fresh produce. And it is a collective effort. We believe that we're really, UpBeat NYC is a music organization, but that is building a community that also looks at the health and well-being of the whole child and the whole family. We're also lucky to have the support of our council member, Diana Ayala, who's helping us at the moment to think about how we fit our big orchestras and our Afro-Latin jazz band that we don't have enough room in the space we're in now. So we're looking at opportunities to expand and find a permanent space that can really be for the community. We also have partnerships with music institutions like Celia Cruz High School for music here in the Bronx. Amazing to have their students as a part of our program, receiving private lessons and part of our ensembles. LaGuardia High School, Interlochen Center for the Arts in Michigan, and the New York Philharmonic. We get to partner with them and our students to perform side by side with their musicians.
And I've just add that we have a partnership also with South Bronx Unite and the local Community Land Trust, which is the Mott Haven Port Morris Community Land Stewards. We've been fighting for the last 10 years to turn an abandoned New York City hospital space into community centers. So that is a dream that's coming true in 2027, and UpBeat will have space there to grow its programming as well.
Now, one program that I found very interesting is the pre-orchestra program. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so that's our paper orchestra, paper violin program. So when students come to us at age 5 or 6, their parents join them. They build an instrument out of cardboard and glue and paint it themselves, and they really get to have that hands-on experience of knowing details of the instrument, learning how to hold it, how to take care of it. Their parents can be with them in that, so it's really creates the community feeling that we feel like is so important for the success of the child. And then once they've learned on that instrument for a few months, then they receive a real instrument.
Now, has there been any challenges with getting, very small children to focus? Because music is not easy to learn. It takes a lot of focus and dedication. So have there been any challenges with that?
Well, that's part of why we start with sometimes that pretend instrument, right? Because there's so many steps, and that's a building block toward then getting the real instrument. But we see two things. One, that kids have that intense focus. They are capable of that kind of intensity when they're also enjoying it. And we're not looking to create like a little army of musicians. There is a lot of joy in the learning. Our teachers are amazing at creating a space where kids really feel like they can make mistakes, that they can express themselves. And so all of that together, I think, then brings that opportunity for kids to really focus in, and they surprise us with how well they do.
And I love that you mentioned that, because I think that when we think about the arts, in order for it to be appreciated, there has to be perfection, or that you have to be this amazing talented musician. But you talked about it just being fun, and can you just explain why that's important for kids to just kind of have fun with it?
Absolutely. I mean, at the heart of UpBeat, we're a social program, we're a community program, we're a family program, where that's the key, that's the most important ingredient like you're talking about. And if we don't have that, there's really nowhere to go. So that's always our starting point. That's always where we come back to, is like, how does this feel? How fun is it to be here? There's a lot of hard work going on. But it's really the basis is these relationships. How are we communicating with the kids? What kind of relationships were we building? Not just today, but long term. We don't have some sort of policy like 3 strikes you're out if you're late too much. No, we're all family. So we're here for the long term, and I think I know that families get that pretty quickly once they're in the program. And that's really what binds us together and gives the strength to do something that's very difficult, like learn a musical instrument, but you need a family behind you.
Now, I understand that majority of the programs, or all of the programs, are free. Can you explain, the importance behind that?
Yeah, it's very important to us. We really feel like that music is a right and not something that should only be for those who can afford it. It can be very expensive to learn an instrument. And so we know that if you're deciding, we don't want families to be deciding between being able to get groceries and being able to send their kids to a supportive program where they have something really positive to do after school. And we also, we feel that the voices of the young people here in the South Bronx, the South Bronx has such a rich cultural tradition, and music that has come from here, hip hop, salsa. This is a birthplace of those genres, and Yet there's been just a lot of exclusion because there's been a lack of resources also in the community. So we need these young people's voices, right? We need them. The world is a richer place to have their participation, their creativity join the voices of our society.
Now, we got a little bit from you on your background on why you love music, but can you explain, why it's important to you and how you got into music?
Absolutely. I started in middle school playing on my brother's hand-me-down saxophone, and yeah, I grew up in Texas where, unfortunately, unlike New York City, there is bands in all the schools. Football's a big thing, so I did marching band, and then got interested from my high school band director, Charles Watts, who actually went to I.M. Terrell, a very historically important school as far as jazz and other musicians, but he had fostered a beautiful big band there that I fell in love with jazz, and then I moved to New York City and studied it myself, and met Liza, and that's how I became a part of her wonderful musical family. But yeah, I was, we both, because of our parents and whatever situations we're in, it wasn't a question of whether we were going to do music or not, But it is a question in the city. It's not a given that your kid will have access here. And we do think that is tragic. This needs to change. There needs to be long-term solutions. And we feel like UpBeat, although we're not going to be able to reach all the hundreds of thousands of kids in the city, we can reach the ones in our community. And we can also hopefully become a beacon and an advocate for that change.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about the community that you create, for the kids of New York, with us here at BronxNet. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
If you want to know more about their programs, please go to their website at UpBeatNYC.org. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon's Fios 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin Alleyne, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.